Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity Ezewike. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu is set to depart Abuja for Accra, Ghana on Saturday, July 20. He will attend the 6th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union, Regional Economic Communities, Regional Mechanisms, and AU member states. This meeting will be held under the AU's 2024 theme, Educate and Skill Africa for the 21st Century. In his role as chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, Tinubu will address the gathering on the status of regional integration across Africa. He is expected to highlight achievements and challenges faced in West Africa since the previous meeting in Nairobi, Kenya in July 2023. Tinubu will also present the 2024 report on ECOWAS, covering key areas such as peace, regional security, governance, economic integration, humanitarian and social development, as well as energy, mining and agriculture.
After a long drawn-out disagreement over what amount would be appropriate, President Bola Tinubu has approved a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira for Nigerian workers. The new minimum wage represents a 133% increase from the current 30,000 naira minimum wage approved in 2019. At 70,000 naira per month, a Nigerian worker would earn roughly 3,500 naira per 8-hour day or 438 naira per hour, assuming a 5-day work week. In 2019, 30,000 naira could buy roughly $83 worth of goods at the official exchange rate of 360 naira to the dollar. However, in 2024, at an estimated exchange rate of 1,600 naira to the dollar, 70,000 naira will now only buy around $43.75 worth of goods and services. This means the new minimum wage, despite being higher in naira terms, may not go as far in purchasing power.
The Mr. President have already given a seal to what we are saying, that okay, it cannot go beyond 70,000, except if we increase minimum fuel pump price again. We know the pains and the agony that we are going through as a result of the first subsidy removal, which we are still battling with. So to now overstretch the battle and will not become an endless battle, so the leader have to retreat and say, okay, let's take what is available for now as Oliver Twist, and the take home now is that the year of review has been reduced from 5 to at least 3 years.
A pressing question on the issue is, will the new minimum wage be a challenge for the private sector to implement?
The private sector, the entrepreneurs, we are ready even to pay more than 200,000 naira to our workers. Only if the enable environment is being given to us. If government can provide power and provide a soft loan or grant to people like us, I want to tell you, we can pay even 300,000 naira.
While the higher minimum wage is intended to help Nigerian workers cope with rising inflation, the ability of businesses to pay remains to be seen.
The way it usually operates, when there's an increase of minimum wage like this, there's a corresponding increment across all levels within the civil service. So with states that are currently in salary, to what extent can we say confidently that they'll be able to pay this minimum wage?
For now, President Tinubu has pledged to review the National Minimum Wage Act every 3 years to keep up with economic conditions. However, implementing the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira will be the immediate test that needs to be passed. In Lagos 4 News Central, Igbalani Omani.
That was my colleague, actually, not Emmanuel Bagudu, but Ni Omoni, as at the end of the report. All right, to discuss this, we're joined by a public affairs analyst, Francis Chilaka. Francis, thank you very much for joining us. 70,000 naira, new minimum wage for Nigerian workers, to be reviewed every 3 years. That's the caveat. My question for you is twofold. Your thoughts on the reactions to Labour's acceptance of the new wage and on trusting the government for a review every 3 years?
From the outset, knew they were going to 70,000 It shouldn't have carried us through. Like I said before, Labour started on the wrong footing. When you want to build a house, that's wrong. The structure will not start on time. So what has played out is that Labour should have had double demands at the same time. What they should have done is to review the salary of all political appointees, all senators, all honorable members, and everyone that benefits from government. But they didn't do that. So they are demanding just for salary increase. Now they have gotten it, but then the money can't even buy a bag of rice. So I don't know how to buy it, because the government didn't even give a breakdown as to how they arrived at 70,000, which Labour gladly accepted. The government is saying, no, we don't have money to pay. But this same government has been spending a lot of money sponsoring pilgrimages, wanting to buy aircraft, buying cars for the senators and all of that. So they haven't taken into consideration plight of the ordinary minimum wage. How does a family of 4 or 5 survive the present, where you have about our inflation is about 34 point something percent. So I don't know how the federal government arrived at 70,000.
Whether we agree with it or not, the federal government said that's what they can agree on, and Labour consented to it. Otherwise, we won't be talking about it. So I guess I'm looking at the part of Labour's acceptance of the minimum wage, considering that they said they did empirical studies that showed for a family of 6, and the minimum at the time was over 200,000, about 250,000. So I guess that's where I was hoping you would speak on reactions to their acceptance as against the reality. Whether we like it or not, 70,000 is what it is now.
Yeah, but I mean, we also, yes, I know it is what it is, but what I'm saying is that at 70,000 naira, how would a family of 4 or 5 survive, considering the present reality? It doesn't add up. It does not really add up. The prices of goods are going up every day. So if you're paying Nigeria 70,000 naira a month, how do they pay their house rent? How do they pay their children's school fees? So I do not understand why, Labour haven't done their homework, knowing fully well that 70,000 naira will not solve the problem, and they accepted it. So it simply means that, from the beginning, Labour did not know what they wanted.
But there's a caveat here. I think one of the reasons I watched the video as other Nigerians saying that the president has assured that every 3 years there will be a review of the salary. That was, one of the reasons that was given. So I'm thinking, what's your trust level that the government will keep their word, considering all we've been through with the negotiation process for this new minimum wage?
I do not know how much Labour can trust this government, but I can assure you that for another 3 years, Labour will have to begin to fight for government to look at the minimum wage again, because and they do not believe in this, and they do not execute policies that affects the ordinary Nigerians. So you will see Labour will start agitating. The government will, once more close their eyes, as if they are not aware that they signed this agreement today. Most agreements entered into by government, not only this government, have
I think the network is really affecting.
Obeyed. So we know what's going to play out. But
I would love to continue this conversation, because there's just this little thing I would like us to clear, but we seem to be having issues with the network. So we'll just thank you very much for speaking with us, and hope the network is better next time when you join us. Thank you. Away from that, let's tell you that the Senator Ali Ndume, the ousted chief whip of the 10th National Assembly, has declined an offer from the APC to serve as chairman of the Senate Committee on Tourism. In a briefing with journalists at his Maiduguri residence, Ndume explained that after reviewing the circumstances surrounding his removal, he believes his actions did not justify his dismissal. News Center's Umaru Kirawa has the rest of the report.
Whip of the Nigerian 10th Senate, Mohammed Ali Ndume, was relieved of his position following his criticism of the President Bola Tinubu administration.
I want to state that I stand by all my statements in the interview I granted. Secondly, the party that recommended to the Senate that I should be removed from being the chief whip of the Senate, I take that as an act of God, because if it is God that gave me that position, it is God that took it through APC, so I bear no grudges about that. After all, I did not contest to be the chief whip. I did not contest to be the vice chairman of appropriation committee. I contested to be the one of the senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And alhamdulillah, God granted me that victory. And I'm happy with God, what God has given to me.
The senator also discussed his potential departure from the ruling All Progressives Congress.
It is unpatriotic to stand by the president in whatever he does. It is patriotic to speak the truth to not only the president, but anybody for that matter. It is unpatriotic not to speak the truth to power or to anybody, and I still stand by that.
Ndume acknowledged the government's effort in approving 70,000 naira and collaborating with labor leaders. He also urged the Nigerian president to be more receptive and attentive to the people's yearnings.
Realistically, that is like a bag of rice, a money that will maybe buy a bag of rice or cover the cost of bag of rice. So I encourage or I call on to the president to still open up and listen to the people, with over 38 million that are facing food insecurity. And that is in addition to the insecurity of Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping, and separatists in the southeast that we are facing. So Nigerians need to pray. Nigerians need to support the government in whatever way, so that if the president or the government succeeds, we will be better off.
Nigerians are eagerly anticipating measures to reduce the prices of food items and premium motor spirit. Concerns raised by the senator over these issues were reportedly key factors that contributed to his ousting. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Let's now tell you that the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has imposed a $220 million fine on Meta platforms for violating data privacy laws. The FCCPC said Meta's data sharing practices on its Facebook and WhatsApp platforms breached local consumer and data protection regulations. The commission found that Meta had denied Nigerian users control over their data, shared data without consent, and abused its market dominance. Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, has honored 3 soldiers from Operation Hadinkai for their exemplary bravery in confronting insurgents and facing adversities at the front lines. General Lagbaja reaffirmed the Army's commitment to restoring peace in the Northeast and other regions of the country, emphasizing the role of stability in fostering economic growth and development. News Center's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The battle against terrorism that has troubled Nigeria persists, with armed forces implementing diverse strategies across the country. It was a special dinner to celebrate gains made at the front lines by armed forces after completing the dry season operations in the enclaves of terrorists. The night was also dedicated to fallen heroes, with a minute silence for the departed who paid the supreme price.
Today also affords us the opportunity to present the upper letters to the three beneficiaries of the affordable housing option for soldiers, APOAS for short, as a means of encouraging all our soldiers in the theater to key into this laudable initiative by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General T.E. Lagbaja, Nigerian Army Medal. I also wish to appreciate you all for your patience throughout, and also point out that NCOs and senior NCOs remain the backbone of any professional army. And you have a lot of role to play in ensuring that our young soldiers are brought up properly.
The soldiers beam with pride as they witness the presentation of housing awards to three of their own in recognition of their outstanding efforts in counterinsurgency operations. The event also provided an opportunity for troops and military officers to exchange their experiences from the field, furthering their shared goal of ensuring stability and peace in the region.
Each of these soldiers that were presented have been had a 3-bedroom flat offer letters, so in Abuja. So now it's for all of them to see that the welfare scheme initiated by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, Nigerian Army Medal, is yielding fruition. Most of other soldiers that benefited were presented their offer letters during the recently conducted Nigerian Army Day celebration in Jos. So our soldiers have the opportunity for them to be presented with their own offer letters today.
The fight against terrorism persists, while citizens remain hopeful for the long-awaited era of lasting peace. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
We head now to Rivers State, where Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court in Abuja has stopped the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) from releasing the voters registered to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission to conduct the forthcoming local government elections. Justice Lifu issued an order of interim injunction against INEC while delivering a ruling in a motion ex parte brought before him by the All Progressives Congress (APC). The motion ex parte was filed on behalf of the APC by a team of senior lawyers. The judge also stopped the Rivers Electoral Commission and Rivers Attorney General from receiving from INEC or using part of the National Voters Register relating to Rivers State to conduct local government elections in the state. Let's go now to Edo State, where accusations and counter-accusations have trailed the incidents witnessed on the streets of Benin City, the Edo State capital, which left 2 dead, with one of the killed identified as a police personnel. While the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has accused the All Progressive Congress, APC, of being responsible, the APC is also accusing the state governor, Godwin Obaseki, and has called for the resignation of the State Commissioner of Police for failing to protect its supporters because of his romance with the governor. Amadine Uyi compiled this report.
It became a free-for-all on the streets of ancient Benin City. At the end, 2 were left dead, with one identified to be a serving police officer.
We will not, by any means, allow the political talks, I repeat, to have their way.
Since the incident, accusations and counter-accusations have been thrown between the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party, with even the police being fingered to be complicit.
What we saw yesterday was a blatant disregard for law and order. They mobilized thugs, armed thugs, known thugs, street urchins, in an attempt to destabilize Edo people and destabilize Benin City.
All this incident took place. I met with the CP and the Deputy Commissioner inside the VIP lobby. In the airport, I talked to them and said, sir, these people have blocked the 2 entrances. They are shooting sporadically. We are not here for fight now. Nobody is here with her. Before we know, the CP did not he couldn't even mobilize his team like a different team. We have different team here.
It is very striking to observe that under the watchful eyes of the Edo State Commissioner of Police, one of his serving officers was killed without any iota of concern from him, indicative of the grand design by him in connivance with the state governor and the PDP candidate, Barrister Aswa Ighodalo.
While the APC in the state are crying foul and calling for the resignation of the Commissioner of Police in the state, the police, however, assures that it will get to the root of the matter.
We are investigating it. We are having some names, which we are very soon, they will be in our net, and we will carry out very thorough investigations.
As a party and as a campaign organization, calling on the disbandment and banning of the Edo State Security Network, the vigilante, and the public work volunteers, all of which are Governor Obasaki's killer squad, who unleashed this mayhem yesterday, July the 18th. We also demand the immediate sacking of the Commissioner of Police, Edo State Command, because he has since become brazenly partisan in the discharge of his duties.
With Edo State now on edge, and Benin City, its capital, the epicenter of the ongoing drama, it is hoped that peace can return back to the ancient city.
To discuss this, we're joined by Honorable Andrew Emwanta, Head External Communication and Deputy Director Publicity, Edo APC Campaign Council. He's also a former Commissioner for Information in Edo State. Thank you very much for joining us. But before I go to my first question, let me emphasize that I will be starting off with your legal background. I know you are a legal practitioner as well. So some specifics. There's been a lot of back and forth about the application for a stay of execution on the judgment reinstating the former Deputy Governor, Philip Schreiber, in his position. As a legal practitioner, when a court makes a declaration such as in this case, does a stay of execution application invalidate the ruling?
Yeah, thank you. I will just quickly tackle it from a legal standpoint. A declaratory judgment cannot be stopped by an order of stay of execution. It is only where you have an executory judgment you talk of going to court to file an application for stay. And even when you file an application for stay, which is usually a motion or notice, it cannot automatically operate as a stay, particularly when your appeal has not been entered. It's only where an appeal has been entered that can now operate as a stay if the motion for stay of execution is not granted. I was in court when that judgment was given because I was part of the legal team that started off with the case. And in that case, 6 declaratory orders were made. And those declaratory reliefs border on if the deputy governor was removed in line with the provisions of the Constitution, and the court said no, he remains the deputy governor of the state. The House of Assembly did not follow the provisions of Section 188 religiously. And besides, the court noted that it was a political witch hunt. Not done yet, as the deputy governor came into town yesterday. You see how he was ambushed. And unfortunately, the police orderly of the APC governorship candidate, who was with the deputy governor at the mature time, was killed at the entrance of the Benin airport. And it's quite unfortunate that the commissioner of police was there when all these things happened.
All right, we'll come to some of the issues later. I just wanted to ask, because there was some misunderstanding about, what is legal and what is not. Now, while the government is seeking redress, what legally should be the next course of action pending any further ruling from a higher court?
And the deputy governor has resumed his office. Like I saw today in the news that he received the national chairman of the APC at the airport. He has, of course, the governor initially threw him out from government house. So he has an office where he's operating from, because as they say, it's not the hood that makes the bomb. If, for instance, there's a bomb blast in Usadebe Avenue, which is the seat of power in Edo State, would the Edo State government stop operating? There was a time the governor did not use his office for 3 months. So it is not the place you call the office that makes the deputy governor to function. It is his assignment, it is his role, constitutionally defined. So as deputy governor, he's going to operate to the last day of this present administration, which is 11th of November 2024. Obaseki is governor of Edo State. Shaibu is deputy governor. The person Obaseki appointed, the court has removed him. He was sacked.
So what happens to the person who was in that position, replacing Philip Shaibu prior to this judgment?
In the eyes of the law, that young man does not exist. In the history of Edo State, when the accounting deputy governor, he would not be mentioned. It was a mistake, an aberration, which the court has declared as an invalid act. And in the
let's talk about
case of USC and McFord, the court in that case, per law, Dennis said, you cannot put something upon nothing and expect it to stand, it will collapse. So when an act is void, is incurably bad, and to the extent of that inconsistency with the Constitution, the court declared the impeachment of Shaibu as void. So it has resumed. It's just that
I expect
the death of that police officer that gives me very serious cause for concern. And as I was about to say, Section 14 sub 2B of the Constitution places the security and welfare of the people as a primary purpose of government. Obaseki, the governor of Edo State, who is supposed to be the chief security officer, it's quite unfortunate that we hear that he was the one that sponsored those talks that laid ambush on his deputy.
Okay, now you're speaking in your capacity as a spokesperson for the APC. I was going to...
The APC candidate that died as a result of that ambush.
All right, I'm told we're out of time. I did have other questions for you. Hopefully we can talk again. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Always a pleasure to be on your program.
News Central is set to collaborate with the Edo State government to enhance content creativity and personnel in state-owned broadcast establishments. Managing Director of News Central, Kayode Akintemi, disclosed this during a courtesy visit to Governor Godwin Obaseki at the Government House in Benin City. News Central's Austin Azu completes the report.
Managing Director of News Central, Kayode Akintemi, was in Edo State for the 79th General Assembly of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria. The event brought together broadcast media CEOs and managing directors to address challenges and develop policies to guide the organizations. The managing director later visited the government house in Benin for a courtesy meeting with Governor Godwin Obaseki. During the discussion, they explored various strategies to enhance the broadcasting industry in Nigeria, focusing on content, creativity, and personnel development.
But I guess what people don't see is, or are those things, those reforms, which we have undertaken with human capacity, with a systems overhaul and a systems change. But in time and with time, we're going to let you into some of the things we've done so that you can assist us in communicating the reforms and the progress that we have achieved in Edo during my tenure.
Structure. It shows that when people say that technocrats are better at government because they look at things from outside the box, not from the political paradigm. So we say thank you very much for the work you've done. We're really happy to see it, and we're looking forward to a lot more in the coming days and months, even before you exit from this. So this courtesy call has been worth my while. Thank you so much.
The MD was also guided on a tour by the governor's special assistant on media, who showed him around the TV studio and radio facilities at the government house, exclusively for the governor.
Everything is there.
Subsequently, the essay took Mr. Akintemi to the state-owned broadcast establishments in Benin, where they received a guided tour of the facilities from the station's managing director.
The conversation is around collaboration because in all my years in broadcasting, I've been one of the strongest advocates of collaboration across the continent of Africa. There's no one TV station that can say that, oh, we have all the resources we need. We don't need any partners. Absolutely nonsense if anybody says that. So I believe that there's room for collaboration. News Central will always be eager to collaborate with states, partners, partners, with federal government establishments, with international news television stations.
News Central is committed to collaborating with all stakeholders to enhance the value of its brand. In Edo, for News Central, Austin Azu.
About 90% of global trade is transported by sea, relying heavily on ports and businesses that are integral to the global supply chain for both imports and exports. Yet, seaports are often considered among the most corrupt areas in the maritime value chain. Daily, vessels and cargoes enter ports involving numerous stakeholders across various jurisdictions and interactions with government officials. This environment creates a fertile ground for corruption as port officials wield significant discretionary powers. The port also maintains an administrative monopoly over crucial public services essential for business operations and prosperity. Such conditions foster a form of cohesive corruption where port officials demand bribes from companies for routine vessel and cargo clearance processes.
The government itself needs to be very direct in making sure that the way it engages with industry on a policy level, on infrastructure investment level, on even how process works is such that it enables the industry to thrive, but also it solicits feedback regularly enough to understand what is new that is happening around technology, particularly green technology, which we have the option to use around our port ecosystem and our port infrastructure to enable us to be competitive and ahead of the curve and attract that investment to come here. That's what I would advise the minister to focus on.
In the early hours of Friday, a funeral service was held for Madam Florence Saraki, the late mother of Nigeria's former Senate President Bukola Saraki. Chief Mrs. Saraki passed away in June 2024. The service was attended by prominent figures in Nigeria's political sector, as well as top government officials, both past and present. News Central's Adeshewa Odushoka reports.
Nigerians and high-ranking government officials, including Senate President Godswill Akpabio, Africa's richest man Aliko Dangote, and state governors such as Godwin Obaseki, among numerous other notable figures in Nigerian politics, attended the funeral of the late Chief Mrs. Florence Saraki. She was the mother of Nigeria's 13th Senate President Bukola Saraki. The funeral service was held at the Cathedral Church of Christ in Marina, Lagos. It was attended by family members, including the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of the deceased.
The end of something often brings a sense of completion and closure, where it gives an opportunity to look back to assess achievements and failures. If I'm to substantiate the various definitions of the term end, I will pick on the following just to make it, personal. Arriving at a destination is the end of the journey. Sowing ends in harvest.
In his sermon, the provost eulogized the deceased as a model philanthropist and leader, praising a life dedicated to serving God with unwavering commitment and kindness.
We please God when we love Him. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. You must love Him with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. But you have not seen God before. I have not seen God. How do we love God? You love your neighbor. Because every human being carries the image of God. We are created imago Dei.
Until her passing, Madam Florence was the revered matriarch of the Saraki family, celebrated for her strength and unwavering dedication to both a family and community. Her life was distinguished by her profound contributions to society. In Lagos for News Central, Adeshewa Odushoga.
Many thanks, Adeshewa. We're on a short break now. We'll continue with stories on the flip side. Do stay with us. In the east of the continent, Kenya's embattled President William Ruto On Friday, named a partial new cabinet as part of a process of forming a broad-based government. This comes after a month of widespread and sometimes deadly protest against his administration. In a televised address, Ruto unveiled the names of 11 proposed ministers after last week's sacking of almost his entire cabinet as he seeks to contain the worst crisis of his nearly two-year presidency. The names for cabinet ministers and attorneys and Attorney General will go before Parliament for approval. However, several of those nominations were members of the previous government, including the head of the Interior Ministry, which is in charge of Kenya's under-fire police force.
The country has engaged in a difficult public conversation, providing an opportunity to reflect deeply on the relationship between fundamental rights and democratic freedoms, our collective aspirations for prosperity.
Let's join our business desk for today's business stories.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria has projected a slight reduction in the country's external reserves in 2024 due to debt service and other obligations. The bank's Outlook report stated that while improvements in crude oil earnings and reforms in the foreign exchange market and energy sector will help cushion the drop, the reserves, which stood at $33.09 billion in 2023, are expected to decrease. However, Nigeria's foreign reserves crossed $35.05 billion on July 8, the first time in about a year, and have remained above that mark since then, reaching $35.77 billion as of Thursday. The outlook also predicts a marginal increase in diaspora remittances and an upward trajectory of public debt, which is expected to remain sustainable. To Southern Africa now, South Africa's National Treasury is set to unveil its proposals for regulating carbon markets within the country in the coming months. The government department plans to release a consultation paper on the industry around the time of presenting its medium-term budget policy statement in October. While many African countries have rushed to regulate the production and trade of carbon credits to generate additional revenue, South Africa stands out as both a producer and consumer of offsets. Despite its potential for producing credits through renewable energy activities and ecosystem restoration, South Africa remains the world's 15th largest producer of greenhouse gases, largely due to its reliance on coal. The International Monetary Fund has cautioned that Zambia's proposed ban on charging foreign currency in local transactions, which carries a 10-year jail term, may not achieve its intended goals. The Central Bank of Zambia announced the ban in June to combat the increasing dollarization of the economy, which it argues hampers its ability to fight inflation. However, businesses have criticized the proposed regulations as punitive and warned of potential price growth. IMF Resident Representative Eric Lochia emphasized that effective implementation of such measures requires macroeconomic stability, including low and stable inflation. Zambia is facing challenges including high inflation, debt restructuring, and currency volatility. Lochia stated that forced de-dollarization measures may prove ineffective or counterproductive without a strong macroeconomic stabilization plan. Zambia, with a $1.7 billion economic program with the IMF, did not consult the lender before announcing the ban. And that's a package on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money. Sports update brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
In sports, Nigerian midfielder Ebenezer Akinsomiro has joined Serie B club Sampdoria
on a season-long loan deal from Inter Milan. Sampdoria have the option to purchase the Nigerian next summer, but the Serie A champions Inter Milan inserted a buyback clause in the contract. Akinsomiro joined Inter Milan from Nigeria Premier Football League side Remo Stars in January 2023. The 19-year-old made his Serie A debut against Lecce in February 2024, and the youngster played the last 14 minutes of the game, which Inter Milan won 4-0. The talented midfielder scored 6 goals and provided 2 assists in 25 appearances in the Primavera 1, the league for under-19 teams of Serie A clubs last season. UEFA have begun a disciplinary process against Spain striker Alvaro Morata and his teammate Rodri for singing about the sovereignty claim on Gibraltar. Morata and Rodri chanted the song during Spain's European Championship title celebration. UEFA in a statement on Friday said a disciplinary inspector is being appointed to evaluate a potential violation of its rules by the two players. Morata and Rodri led a huge crowd in singing Gibraltar is Spanish on Monday. The Gibraltar Football Federation filed a formal complaint to UEFA on Thursday. Tennis great Rafael Nadal fought into the semi-finals of the Bastard Open on Friday as he defeated Argentina's Mariano Navon after 3 hours and 59 minutes. The 22-time Grand Slam champion is through to the last 4 of the tournament for the first time since Wimbledon 2 years ago. Nadal had to overcome a poor start against the fast-rising Navon, now ranked 36th in the world after beginning the year outside the top 100. He dropped serve 3 times in a row against an opponent who became the first man in the Open era to be seeded in his maiden Grand Slam appearance at this year's French Open. Nadal will next face Croatian qualifier Duj Adjikovic, the world number 130, who had won just 2 tour-level matches in his career prior to this week. McLaren's Lando Norris outpaced world champion Max Verstappen of Red Bull to top the timesheets in Friday's second free practice session, which was run in hot conditions ahead of this weekend's Hungarian Grand Prix. The 24-year-old, who trails the 3-time champion by 84 points in the driver's title race, clocked a best time of 1 minute and 17.788 seconds to beat his rival by 0.243 seconds in a tightly contested session. Carlos Sainz was third for Ferrari, while 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton, hoping to claim a record-increasing 9th Hungarian victory, was 7th ahead of Red Bull's Daniel Ricciardo, Alex Albon of Williams, and 2-time champion Fernando Alonso of the Aston Martin. And that's a wrap on Sport Updates. I am Udoka Njoku.
In entertainment tonight, Nigerian actor Yul Edochie has faced backlash from social media users after advising Nigerians not to protest against the country's economic hardships. Earlier today, Edochie took to Instagram to urge patience and continued vocal advocacy rather than taking to the streets. He says, "I acknowledge the hardships. Protest is not the answer. People take advantage of protests to break into other people's shops, steal, destroy properties, hurt and kill innocent Nigerians who are already going through a lot. In the end, the aim of the protest will be defeated. Remember what happened during End SARS." He wrote, "Protest is not the answer. Let's be patient. Let's keep speaking out and doing all we can to help out. President Tinubu listens and he's doing all he can to make things right. Fellow Nigerians, let's be patient." Yul Edochie's advice was met with significant disapproval and intense criticism from his followers and other Instagram users. A disgruntled followers said, "Prodigal son of Chief Pete Edochie, your opinion does not count. A fou. Another user on X said, Yeah. Is protest an act of treason? This is democracy, for crying out loud. Protest is a way of letting the people's grievances known to the government. Why should there be an agenda against protest? If things were going on fine, the government shouldn't be against any protest. Nah, that aside, I'm beginning to doubt if some of you, these Brits, think at all." Another user responded with an image of Yul protesting against former President Buhari's administration with a placard that read, "Buhari, we are tired. #resign." And now on the international scene, Cheng Pei, the pioneering Chinese actress known as the Queen of Swords and considered one of the first female action stars, has died at the age of 78. She made her name in the Shaw Brothers classic Come Drink With Me and later played the villain Jade Fox in Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It is with a heavy heart that we announce that the rumors are true Our mother, Cheng Pepe, passed away peacefully at home, surrounded by her loved ones on July the 17th. Cheng's family said in a statement posted to Facebook, adding that in 2019, Cheng was diagnosed with a neurodegenerative atypical Parkinson's syndrome, unofficially corticobasal degeneration, CBD. The disease is a rare one with symptoms similar to Parkinson's disease. She chose not to make this news public so that she could deal with her condition in private and spend her remaining time with her children and grandchildren. Born in Shanghai, China in 1946, Cheng moved to Hong Kong in 1962 and joined Shaw Brothers Studios as a contracted player. With some dance training, Cheng was initially positioned as a star in Chinese opera movies, similar to Ivy Ling Po, a popular Hong Kong singer at the time. She made her screen debut in 1964, releasing 2 films that year, including the melodrama Lovers Rock.
And that is all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Bola Tinubu is to attend African Union media meeting in Ghana. Senator Ndume urges President Tinubu to re-evaluate policies. PDP APC trade accusations over clash in Edo State, which left 2 people dead. Also in the news, Kenya's President William Ruto has named partial new cabinet. Do send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media to do that as well, at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind attention. I'll see you on Monday. Good night.